Let's talk about the Grizzlies, Mo. They had a busy offseason as well. They added Jerome, Jock Landale, KCP. They got back in the Desmond Bane trade involving the Orlando Magic. They lose him. They lose Jay Huff. Luke Kennard walked as well. I love their draft. Cedric Coward, Small, and Meshack in the second round. They hired Isola as their head coach as well. The Grizzlies, I mean, the big question now with them is Jaren Jackson Jr. and his health after offseason surgery. When does he come back? But ultimately, you look at this team, their rotation, Edie, Triple J, once he's back, Jalen Wells, KCP, Ja Morant, and then a really deep team with like a lot of guys that are deserving of rotation minutes on some team out there in the NBA that are not going to get it. I don't feel like this team is actually going to make a lot of noise in the Western Conference, but there's a lot of individual pieces that I like. And so I view this team this season as like an evaluation year. Who's going to be our long-term fixtures around Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. and hopefully Zach Edey as well moving forward into the future?
Yeah, they need these guys to kind of all step up. I mean, besides obvious thing across the board is good health, right? Like for everybody on this team. Like we've had a lot of time where Ja misses games and Jackson now with the toe thing. Like, we'll see how it kind of plays out, but it's important that they stay healthy. And then on top of that, it's figure this stuff out. Like I love the young guys. I love Jalen Wells. I Scottie Pippen Jr. I like the way he plays. I like the depth they have. Now, what's the offense going to look like? Last year they took a lot of the pick and roll away from Ja, so then it became a situation where what kind of offense are we running? Isola, we'll see what he kind of puts in terms of that, how much motion, how much is his movement off of the stuff, how much of it works well for Ja, and what doesn't. Because he's not a guy like I'm going to worry about too much off the move and things like that. Like this is a guy that needs the ball in his hands a lot more. Let's see if they kind of go back to that in that situation. And then I just want Jaren Jackson Jr. to kind of deliver on the promise where he puts it all together, offense and defense, and be that guy where he's that true second option. When you send Bane out, in the trade, obviously we understand the cap stuff and things like that. You need Jackson to step up and be the true second option offensively and really deliver for them in a big way. If this team's going to go anywhere besides health, it's Jaren Jackson Jr. really stepping up and showing like, yeah, I can be the second option. And on off nights for Ja, I can carry this team and take us further. And I think that's going to be an important thing as they get going and move forward into the season.
Yeah, I think that's spot on with Triple J. He needs to take that leap offensively, especially with Desmond Bane now gone. And look, I think the dude is a magnificent defensive player. That's for sure. You wish he rebounded more. Offensively, he's made progress every year. I wouldn't expect that to stop necessarily. They have good role players. Ty Jerome's a good role player. Scottie Pippen Jr., KCP, Jalen Wells. Like they have a John Conchar, Cam Spencer. Like they have a lot of like quality supporting pieces, but they need that true second star next to Ja Morant. And that to me comes down to, is Cedric Coward gonna look like one of the steals of the draft or not? Cedric Coward is a guy that I was extremely bullish on in the draft this year. I feel like Memphis got a steal in him in the middle of the first round. Does he resemble the guy that they believe he can be as somebody who was near the top of their board this year, as somebody that some teams perceived as the greatest steal in the draft class, but a huge unknown? Played only 6 games last year at Washington State because of a severe shoulder injury that lasted long enough to keep him out of Summer League for that matter as well. Does Coward show flashes of that second star next to Ja Morant? To me, the youth on this Grizzlies team, I don't think they're a contender. To me, they're kind of a wandering team. That's the tier I'd put them in, as a wanderer's tier, because it's about finding their identity alongside Ja Morant, brand new head coach as well. As you said, Mo, what kind of system does he install for this team? But finding the guys that are going to support Ja Morant or become the best guy in the team if Ja never reaches his peak level again. Like that's still a
Right.
question with them. Like that Golden State series was a long time ago. At this point, a lot has happened with Ja since then. Suspensions,
Yes.
injuries,
Yes.
declining at rim frequency as well. Him saying he's not going to dunk anymore, even though that turned out not to be true. Like I just there's a lot of questions with this roster, and to me, I think I don't want to put too much on Cedric Coward. Like he's just a rookie, but I think GG Jackson, Cedric Coward, some of these young guys on the team, they need to start showing that there's star potential there for to feel like the Grizzlies can get back to being that next best team as a contender again, because they're not in that conversation right now. They're just wanderers right now.
Yeah, they're sadly like one of these teams that we look at and kind of go like, "Damn, they missed their window." Like that's what it feels like right
It's
now
tough.
in that moment. And I think that's the situation. That's why I also get nervous just in general labeling this team is next because so much changes so quickly. With the way that Golden State Memphis series was going, we were already waiting for next season going like, all right, this is the year for Memphis to really get going, right? It's so hard to kind of continue that momentum for a million different ones. This one they kind of sort of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with some of the off the court stuff, and I think that kind of became the problem for them and led to those issues.
Shot themselves in the foot, Mo.
Yeah, I was like in my head, I had it teed up, and I didn't, and in the moment was like, oh, I probably shouldn't use that, but couldn't come up with another phrase quick enough. So I do apologize, but yes,
I thought it was funny. It made me
that
chuckle.
that was if anybody was that was going on in my head in real time was like, oh crap, that's I'm gonna say this. Oh wait, no, I shouldn't, and then it was like, oh no, I said it. What you gonna do?
Let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks here. They had a interesting offseason here. Of course, they trade Luka in February, and then they win the number 1 pick and they draft Cooper Flagg. Kyrie Irving out for some amount of time with a torn ACL. They signed D'Angelo Russell, hopefully hold down the fort. In the meantime, with Kyrie out and after losing Spencer Dinwiddie, they've re-signed Kyrie anyway. They re-signed PJ Washington and Dante Exum. And now you get this weird roster that in the vision of Nico Harrison with their lineups here, they have 2 big potential, Lively or Gafford plus AD. They can play with 1 big. They have a bunch of wings and forwards, Cooper Flagg, Klay Thompson, Max Christie, Caleb Martin, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall. Like, there's a lot of options at the wing and forward spots. And then at guard, like, you don't have Kyrie, but you bring in D'Lo. Brandon Williams closed last year fairly well. Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum deeper off the bench as well. And Najee Marshall as well can run a little bit of a point for you too. This team, Mo, I'm not totally certain what to make of them. I see the vision. I get what Nico sees. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like this has a chance of getting even uglier this coming season.
Yeah, I don't necessarily understand who's gonna be distributing the ball. I know they got D'Lo out there, but like I don't know. There's no real true playmaker where I'm like, oh wow, this is a great creator. They're gonna use Cooper Flag a lot, I think, to try to create
Yeah,
and be more on ball. And I'm scared by that. He looks more like I'm ready to attack on the second side than
I agree.
than being a guy that can initiate the offense. I don't think it's early, but I don't think his handles are tight enough right now where he's gonna when he's going in and night out and trying to
No,
be
we
the
saw
lead
how efficient he
playmaker.
was at summer league. Like he it was a struggle scoring in isolation. It just was
Yeah,
for him, and
yeah,
that's not a knock on
yeah,
him. He's an
and
excellent prospect, but every rookie is going to have flaws, and you can't put too much on his plate and expect winning results as a rookie.
but like expecting that and expecting him to be a playmaker for the team is kind of where I'm concerned with what they're going with going forward. Like it's a little bit of a weird lineup. Obviously, it gets better once they have Kyrie back and healthy, and whether
If
that's whether
if
that's at some point this year or at all this season, right? Like if, but I understand the future viewpoint of it. But for this season, I just look at it going like, man, it's tough. And then I can't get excited if you bring in D'Angelo Russell out as your starter. Like I know he's a gap situation and all that stuff, but it's like I can't get juiced up for that stuff. I like what Brandon Williams did. I like the wings. I thought Max Christie was really good for them after the trade. Najee Marshall was really good down the stretch and showed some flashes. PJ Washington, I think, definitely earned his extension. But I just look at this team and I'm just like, I don't really know what you guys are.
Yeah. I mean, to me, if I put them in a tier, it'd be Wanderers. I think they are very, very, very much wandering right now, figuring out who they are. Nico Harrison may think they'll be contenders. I think that's a bit insane to believe that with this team. There's just too many ifs. If Kyrie Irving returns, if Kyrie Irving gets back to himself during the season, if Anthony Davis stays healthy, if Cooper Flagg is like a high impact winning player as a rookie, if Lively stays healthy. I mean, if Klay Thompson doesn't continue to regress at his in mid 30s at this point, like there's so many ifs up and down the board with this Dallas Mavericks roster. If D'Lo is competent, they don't stop with the Mavericks, and this is in a conference, Mo, that is loaded. The West is loaded, and you already have a star out, and any team that has a star that misses 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, that could mean you are suddenly in the play-in or out of the playoffs entirely, and they already have one of their stars sidelined. I just think it's going to get uglier, Mo. I hate to be a negative Nancy with Dallas. I want Mavericks fans to have their love restored in the team. I think that they're some of the best fans in all of basketball, but just from my seat here, I have a hard time looking at the situation and thinking, oh, this is going to get really beautiful this year. I think it could get uglier, and I think it could get to the point that my gut feeling when the Mavericks won the lottery and it meant Cooper Flagg was going to go to Dallas, my first instinct was like, wow, this sucks for him. Because he's going to a team that their fans have left the franchise, that they feel betrayed after trading Luka, the immense expectations for you in a situation that is trying to win, but I don't think that's realistic. I think it's going to get really frustrating for the existing Mavericks fans this year. And for Cooper, I wish he were on a team where they had a clear identity. This team does not. And that just is disappointing to me for a guy who is an unbelievable young player and an unbelievable prospect.
It's not even that. It's just have the ability to let me grow as a player and figure
Yeah.
out my place in the league. Like it's not necessarily not coming in and right off the bat we know exactly what Cooper Flag is in this league. It's to be honest, there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, he can be really one a great player in this league for the Mavs, but we just don't know who he is. And then landing in that spot where it's like, okay, we need you to do this, this, and this. You need to make sure AD's getting his touches. You're going to be, let's just in the world where Kyrie comes back and he's healthy and normal. Okay, you're going to be playing off Kyrie. How does that look? How does that work for you? And whatnot. Like there's going to be a level of trying to figure this stuff out on the fly for him, and there's not a lot of room for error because this team's trying to win. And I think that's the one thing that makes the landing spot a little bit difficult for him. On the flip side, this team's trying to win. He's going to have an opportunity to
Yeah.
compete, and it's like this is in it. One way we're throwing him in the fire, another way we're putting you in a situation where you're not going to be just get complacent, so used to losing all the time, the way some of these other guys end up on situations. Like, come on, man, Brandon Miller and Charlotte, like, what are they going to matter? Right? Like that's it's a lot of room for him to grow and he's gonna get opportunities, but also like he's not gonna play a meaningful game for, what, another season or two, and that'll be 3 years, 4 years in the league before he's played a game that matters.
Totally fair. Totally fair. I mean, there's pros and cons, and for Cooper, he is in a situation trying to win, and maybe it turns out to be a good thing for him and Dallas, and a lot of that's going to have to do with the health of those veterans. So we'll see how that plays out.